Welcome back. President Trump arrived in Qatar this morning for the second leg of his Middle East tour. Before the president left Saudi Arabia hours ago, he spoke at the Gulf Cooperation Council. After speaking at the Saudi-U.S. Investment Forum, he talked about Iran. Watch.
I want to make a deal with Iran. I want to do something if it's possible. But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm strongly urging all nations to join us in fully and totally enforcing the sanctions that I just placed on Iran.
Joining me now is the U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker. Ambassador, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. So much to discuss with you. Let's kick it off with the president's Middle Eastern trip. Your reaction, what strikes you most?
Well, what strikes me is just how successful this trip has already been. You know, obviously the Saudi meeting, important, collected a lot of investments for the United States, and then obviously meeting with the new prime minister from Syria. I think it was a big step to normalizing those relationships, reducing, you know, the sanctions that were placed on Syria, and helping them become a country that is stable. Because that's what, you know, President Trump wants peace. And whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in Europe, whether it's, you know, ending the war between Russia and the Ukraine, President Trump is a peacemaker, and that's what he is doing on all fronts.
Oh, it's true. I mean, just, you know, in a weekend, last weekend, he led the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and of course is calling for peace between Ukraine and Russia. Now, you've got this meeting happening tomorrow in Turkey for ceasefire talks. Moscow has confirmed a delegation will be in Istanbul for the talks, but no word yet on whether or not Vladimir Putin will be present himself. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he's willing to meet with Vladimir Putin personally. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is going to be part of the talks, and President Trump even said that he may attend himself. Ambassador, I know you said that President Trump is growing frustrated with Russia. You're in Turkey now. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, the most important thing is peace. And, you know, we're here at the NATO summit in Antalya today and tomorrow. Secretary Rubio is coming in tonight, but then it sounds like the plan right now is Secretary Rubio is going to continue on to Istanbul to preside over the peace talks and to mediate. And President Trump, while I have no travel plans to announce, President Trump, if he can be helpful, certainly could get to the region very quickly from where he is in Saudi and Qatar and UAE. To help moderate that. But I think, you know, this is still a good step, Maria. I think, you know, no one was talking for 3 years. And now we have Russia and Ukraine that are about to engage in direct talks and hopefully resolve this. Is it going to happen this week? You know, God willing, it will. If it doesn't happen this week, we are on a path to peace. And I think that is a huge step. And each step that we're able to take down that road to peace saves thousands of lives every single week. Once this war ends.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's incredible to me how much President Trump has gotten done in such a short time. And you have to wonder, why wasn't this more of a priority under the prior administration? I don't know. It's incredible. Meanwhile, you're working with NATO allies on this plan for Europeans to boost defense spending. You've been hard at work at this. And of course, they're talking finally about raising their contributions to 5% of their respective GDPs. Earlier this week, you said that the president wants to hear about how Europe and Canada is working on this plan to increase defense spending. What can you tell us?
Well, I have good news and I have better news. You know, right now we are meeting today and tomorrow with the foreign ministers from all 32 NATO allies to talk about the Hague defense commitment. And that is at the meeting of the heads of state and heads of government, which President Trump is planning to attend at the end of June. We are expecting our allies to commit and pledge to 5% of GDP for defense spending. And that's a huge lift. But remember, at the time of the Hague, in 1 month, all 32 NATO allies are planning on being at 2% spending. It took them 11 years to get there. We're going to be on a much faster track to get to this 5% of defense-related spending commitment. And, it's going to be great for American industry, and it's going to be great for the security of the Euro-Atlantic Alliance. And also, Maria, the most important thing is that then it frees up, if Europe actually spends some of their wealth on their own defense, that frees up the United States to address our biggest needs and concerns, and it makes the world safer. It deters, the rogue actors in this world, whether it's Iran, whether it is Russia, whether it is, an ascendant China who is now spending more in peacetime than any country has ever spent on their defense. And so I think we need to rise to the call of what the world is telling us. But at the end of the day, as I mentioned before, Donald Trump is about peace, but he's about peace through strength. And that's what the United States and our NATO allies are committing to as we head both here in Turkey and then on our way to The Hague at the end of June.
And President Trump made the point, look, the world has changed. We're watching China. We're watching, bad behavior there, from a surveillance balloon to every other thing that the Communist Party is undermining America. We can't focus on your defense. It's on you to focus on your defense. Poland is already there at 5%. But what would be the pushback for any of these nations, these NATO neighbors and allies of ours to not go to 5%, given that they have a war in their backyard?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, a lot of European allies have become comfortable. They've built big social safety nets really at the backs of the American worker. And the United States has continued to invest in our defense. But again, this is a new moment in world history. Not only is Poland almost at 5%, but I'll be in Estonia on Friday and Saturday. And the Estonians are committed to 5% of their GDP towards defense next year. And you're seeing many of our allies wake up to the reality. And remember, Russia is spending 10% or more of their gross domestic product on their military machine. But Europe has an economy that is 10 times the size of Russia. So if Europe commits to deter and defend every inch of the NATO alliance territory, then they should have no problem addressing all of the threats that they face. And remember, if you look at the North Pole down, you see nothing but NATO allies plus Russia. And so that is obviously another area where, we're focusing in, and you need big ticket items like icebreakers and planes that can surveil and a lot of high tech gear that's going to be required to do the new mission. Yeah. That is really the modern defense world.
Well, you look at the bad guys in the world, and that's what they're focused on. You said 10% at Russia. Look at China. Look at other nations that are, belligerent and aggressive. Yes, their priority is defense. And President Trump talked all about the beauty and excellence of American defense. That's why you're seeing a lot of that spending there as well. Ambassador, it's great to see you. Good luck with the meetings, and thanks so much for your time this morning.